So how has the healthcare market changed?
Since when? Since yesterday, or since I've been in the business?
All right, but since COVID.
Oh my God, since COVID. That's a good question. It's changed. Well, the world has changed since COVID, and a lot of what's changed is, well, Zoom has really changed the world a whole bunch. So I want to touch upon that component to it.
Telehealth exploded.
Telehealth has exploded, and at allsave.com, we have a telehealth component. We have virtual primary care. It's an excellent program. And what it does is, via Zoom, allows the patient to have regular doctor care. And again, with the same doctor. It's not just, 1-800, doctor advice. It's your doctor who knows you, who's looked at your symptoms. One thing COVID has taught the world is how extremely valuable Zoom can be. And things that have happened. Telehealth has exploded, as has mail order prescriptions. Both have exploded as a result of COVID and people not going out and people staying in and being sequestered and kept inside. They just found alternate ways to do it. What has also happened, and what they've touched upon, is how much easier it is to communicate from home. Whether it is online and doing your shopping, you don't need to leave your home to get your prescriptions, especially if you're on a maintenance prescription. Now, you're a young guy, I'm older than you, but people older than me who have to take certain prescriptions all of the time, as just, every day they take these 4 or 5 things. They know well in advance what they're going to need.
Right.
Versus somebody like you, when you take a prescription, it's because you got an infection, you got hurt, you got a bad cold, and the doctor wants to give you something to get you back on your feet quickly. So, yeah, go to the pharmacy. But for somebody with a heart condition or a liver condition or some other condition, that's really more of a result of age.
Yeah.
And they know, hey, listen, you take X, Y, and Z all the time. They can go online. And they can save that and they can save a lot of money because they're buying from a country like Canada, like the United Kingdom, that has, they have socialized healthcare, but what they have is their medications are subsidized, but they allow a certain amount for export. So it's quasi-socialism. They know there's money in selling them. They sell them to markets where in the United States, the same prescription. And we're talking about items like Eliquis. Eliquis is huge. Januvia, Jardiance, prescriptions that people use a lot and that are very expensive. One guy looked at me at a fair, and a work fair, and he said, I'm a 65-year-old man, and he said, I live in a community, and, every one of my friends were on Eliquis. $500. Okay, we're selling it for $280.
Now, how is Allsave RX able to get access to those drugs for the consumer?
Very, very easily. We have access to the international markets. So if they go on our website and they go to the Mediford Global Exchange, that tab, and they go to that tab, they can type in the name of their prescription and just the first 3 or 4 letters, And what will come up is that medication or other medications that are the same, just it's the generic form, or it's just like it. There's several, depending who makes it, it's the same thing.
And it gives you a list of where.
And it gives you a list. It gives you the prescription size, the dosage. Not everybody who takes Eliquis gets the same prescription.
Right. So say I get an Eliquis prescription and I want to get the Canadian market price.
Well, you can go to the one that says Canada if you want to, but you don't have to do that. You go to the one I would tell you to go to is go to the one that matches exactly the prescription you get, the 2.5 milligram, and then count the tabs. Like if you're buying 30 tabs for $500 or for $300, and you see 80 tabs for $280. Well, that's a better deal. It's a much better deal. If you're doing something like that, then you'll understand, hold on.
And that can all be found on the Metaford Global tab.
I'm just going to read down the list here.
Sure.
Eliquis, 180 tabs is going for 5 milligrams. It's going to cost about $1,200 in the United States, and it's $280 on our website. Jardiance, 90 tabs, 25 milligrams, $2,100 in the United States.
Get out of here.
$260.
Wow.
Okay, that's a huge savings. You ask why we got into this business. Because you start hearing stories all of the time where, I told you we had the other program for years. And I'm in business with my brother now for over a decade. And there was a woman who could not afford her prescriptions, and she used the discount program, and what was $1,200 became $110. And she was crying in the press conference saying how she was able to live now, how she didn't have to spend $1,200. It was only $100. She could afford the $100. She couldn't afford the $1,200, and she was crying, thanking my brother. And a reporter asked my brother, what do you get out of this? And he was embarrassed. He's looking at the woman. He said, she can live. He said, what do you think I get out of it? Isn't that enough? He said, it was such an obtuse question. Watching the woman crying, you're there watching her. And when you hear story after story, thank you of, I can afford it now. You don't know how much money you saved us. Thank you. It drives you. It makes you feel like you did something with yourself, that you're proud and you're happy that you did that for somebody, even if you don't know them. That you were able to have that kind of an effect on a person is moving, and you feel blessed. It's there's no other way to describe it. So people say, "What do you get out of it?" I'm not gonna, and again, it's not all charity either. We've done fine. We're business people, but there's a good here that comes from it. That I guess it was Benjamin Franklin used to have an expression: "Do well while doing good," and that's just business.
Words to live by.
Words to live by. Do well while doing good. We do good.
I think a lot of people forget the do good part.
Well, the do good part, and when you take, one of the guys in my networking group told the story, person's prescription was $500. We got it down to $60. That's a big difference. That's a car payment. That's food. That, when you hear stories of older Americans who have to choose between their prescriptions and dinner.
Yeah.
Let us do some good in the world. And this is I joke, whenever the local government wants to raise money or do something, they pick on the restaurants. Whenever the federal government wants to do something, they pick on the medical community. They pick on the hospitals. They all talk about lowering prescription costs. We have a way that does it. And the best way to do it, between you and I, is to drive the costs out of the system. When the politicians get involved, they're not interested in that, really.
They just want to get reelected.
They want to get reelected, and they are going to help the person who will help them get reelected. And if you are not donating to their campaign, then you're not that person. It's really that simple. And I hate to sound so dour about it, but that's how I feel personally. If you're not going to be the one donating to either side of the aisle, that's not partisan. That's something they all share. That's the truth. Go shop for yourself, listen to yourself, do your own research, and go to our website to help you do your research. And don't just go to my website. Keep looking. Once you start looking for better ways to afford your prescription, you're going to find it. You type Eliquis in and do a search for better prices for Eliquis. Many different things will pop up at you. Go to my website. I can get you there. We're just one option. But if more people took the responsibility for themselves, you'd be surprised at how much got done, and how you know, I use this expression with somebody today. I was explaining, you know, when you're in an airplane and they give you the whole speech about how to, when the mask comes down, they always tell you the same instruction. Take care of yourself first. Put your mask on first before you help somebody else. If you want to drive costs out of the medical system, take care of your medical costs first. Work it out with yourself. Do some research. And that's not do some research. I'm not scolding anybody. I'm saying in today's world, that little thing, the internet, there's so much information out there. And when I type in certain prescriptions, I'm amazed at how many things come up. Just even some are ads, some are not. Some are, you know, they'll tell you about the medication. Some medications you don't need, but you're getting them, you know, some. But the ones that are important, there's just a million ways to go out there and to save money. And if you go to our website, you'll be surprised at the amount of savings you can get across the board. I'm so enthralled about, because you asked what's changed. The amount of prescriptions people buy online between now and just 3 years ago, and between now and what I anticipate will be 5 years from now, is incredible. And it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And like I said earlier, the plan that I've understood is 1,500 different pharmacies will be closing in the next year between Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens. They're just, and they're doing that for many different reasons. That's going to change the landscape of pharmacy visits. That's going to change the landscape of how people buy their prescriptions. And again, for somebody like you, you're a young guy, you're in your 20s. When you get a prescription, it's because something happened to you and you need it. You know, you got very sick, you know, you have an infection.
Like right now.
Something happened. When a 66-year-old gets sick or is on a maintenance medication, or a 76-year-old needs something all of the time, like the gentleman who asked me about the Eliquis, and he saw the price and he said, oh my God. And then he came back and he said, can I take these for my friends? His friends were other 65-year-olds, but it's such a good feeling. But he saw the price difference. He knew what he paid. He paid close to $500, and his buddy paid $485 or something, and he paid $520, which are similar prices to me. But he felt his buddy got a better deal. But when he saw $280 for more medication, he knew he got the best deal. He just saw the best deal. And it has been successful, and it has been very strong, and we are very happy right now. And the growth has been tremendous, and we are just, but we're part of that. And we know we're doing good because we see the popularity of it. And the more people we can help save money, and they're not saving a little bit of money. They're not saving $3. They're saving, you know, hundreds of dollars. And they're saving money that really changes their predicament month to month. If you're on a fixed income and you save $400 a month and you're on a fixed income, and I always joke, at some point we're all on fixed incomes, but when you're not working anymore and you're on the fixed income and somebody puts an extra $400 in your pocket, that's life-changing. That really is. And again, even in subtle ways, even if it means you get to go out to the movies once a week, even if you can fill up your tank of gas, you know, without worrying, can I pay the credit card bill at the end of the month? Even if it means you get to go out to dinner once a week. That's a lot. That's quality of life savings. That means you have made that person's life better. And we're proud of that. We're really proud of that, actually. And it is what drives us. And it's why we're proud to do what we do. So, I mean, that's the change. And that's part of the reason we did start the new brand, because it's more complete. It's got the many different components to it. It's got the primary, the virtual primary care. For somebody who does not have insurance, this is not insurance, and I feel compelled to say that. but it is medical advice. It is a visit with a doctor. It is a doctor who can prescribe medication, who can, look at you, you have a cold and say, you know what, try this, call me in the morning. Take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. Okay, heat up, get some chicken soup. Or, oh, that's a rash. Okay, here's what you need to do. And it's really what you would be surprised at how much they could accurately diagnose on a Zoom call. And without you having to leave your house and go make a visit, especially if you're busy. You own your own company where you go around and you're doing shoots and you're interviewing people, and your schedule might not always be conducive to getting to a doctor's office. Yeah. But you can do it on Friday at 8:00 at night. That might be conducive to you, or Saturday at 10 a.m. That might be conducive to you. A lot of doctors aren't in their office Saturdays at 10 a.m. But with the virtual primary care, you will get a doctor and you'll get the same doctor. So it's not like this guy, Dr. Smith, saw you this time and now you're speaking to Dr. Jones, and next week it's going to be, somebody else.
Same doctor.
Same doctor who knows you.
And it's interesting to see how telehealth exploded after COVID, and how accurate it is. I did telehealth even for just therapy. I mean, for a long time.
Telehealth for therapy is probably much bigger. Yeah. Because you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
But this is more than telehealth. This is Zoom. This is really, which I understand with telehealth. But for therapy, it's excellent because you can be in the privacy of your own home and you can be in a comfortable space that you find comfortable versus having to leave your home to go there, to get back, and which can create a burden.
That's also why, even for my business, I like being able to come to the client, because I feel if you invite someone, I've seen many podcast studios, for example, and it'll smell like pot when you walk in there. You have these random strangers saying, all right, sit down, I'll record, and then they leave and you don't know where they are, and they come back randomly. And the environment's dingy. It's better when you're in your own home or office because it's your territory,
Every time they change a law with regards to medical care, it affects the whole industry down the line, and that's a problem. That's a problem that that you have non-medical experts making changes to a system they don't fully understand, and their motivation isn't to make the medical care system more efficient, more affordable, to drive costs out of the system. Their motivation is whatever it is. And every time, and it's their buzzwords, they get people's attention with them, and they know that. And that's what they're willing to do. Just grab your attention. I'm going to lower healthcare costs. I'm going to lower your medication costs. I'm going to lower this. I'm going to do that. They haven't done it because they don't know how to do it. They just know how to get elected. And that's the problem.
And you guys provide a way
we provide real, verifiable savings. We provide alternatives. If the pharmaceutical companies aren't selling anything in the United States and everything is being purchased overseas, well, they're going to change their go-to-market strategy in the United States. That's just going to be what happens. They're not stupid, and they understand that, and they'll start driving costs out of the system. Part of the reason, that there have been so many I could go on, and anything you ask me about the medical care system and driving costs is going to sound like pure politics, and I don't want it to. Well, I'll just say to you, and I'll say to the world, the way to drive the cost of the medical care system down is to drive a lot of the expenses out of the system. Competition does do that. There are other ways to do that. And I'm not a doctor, but there are ways to drive the costs down. I believe many of the doctors to whom I communicate with regularly and know well, none, and I'm talking about medical society people, they've not been contacted. The politicians aren't asking them. You know, if I wanted to know how can I drive the cost of a podcast down or filming a commercial or some sort, I would talk to a guy like you who does it for a living. The same thing, if I wanted to drive costs out of the medical care system, I would speak to medical care providers and ask them what they thought. Because I guarantee the average doctor who has seen several thousand patients in his or her lifetime knows better than I do. You know, what tests are necessary, what tests are not necessary. You know, you want to drive the cost out of the insurance? Who are we allowing to make all the decisions? The doctors or the insurance companies? Who has to pay? You know, and that's the other benefit. There are a lot of plans out there, and I think plans are going to get sketchier in the next few years. Very simply, I think you're going to get more catastrophic plans. You know, you break your leg, you're covered, but if you have a cold, you're not. And it's going to, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. If you've ever heard that expression, that used to be the rule of thumb when you went to the doctor. Doc, what's this going to cost me? That, believe it or not, when the person who's getting the benefit is also the person who's paying the bill, that's how you drive the costs out of the system. We've set up a system in the United States where the person receiving the benefit, the patient, is not the person paying the bill. The insurance company is. We change that, and every now and then we'll soak the taxpayers. So two things happen. The person receiving the benefit doesn't pay the bill. The person charging the prices and providing the service can charge whatever he or she wants because a third party is paying the bill. And it's driven costs up in a way. It's driven them to a crazy point where it's unsustainable. More and more you have people who have prescriptions which aren't covered. So if they are on 3 or 4 maintenance prescriptions, there's 1 or 2 that are not covered. And we're telling people in that predicament, take responsibility, go look, find a better price for those prescriptions. Don't just go to the pharmacy and pay whatever they tell you, because I'm telling you, go to allsaverx.com, you'll find a better price. And there's other places where you can find better prices. And that's what I'm telling you. There's a million, you have options. And you ask how the world has changed, how the medical world has changed. One thing the internet has given us all is more access, more access to many platforms. You know, 5 years ago, I didn't have access to international markets. Today we do. All Save RX versus the old New York RX card, they're not completely different. We still have a hard card where you can visit a pharmacy and you can save money that way. And for a guy like you, that's perfect. That works well. What we've been able to do is really capitalize on the market where people have maintenance drugs and they're out there every day and they know a month in advance what they're going to need next month. They know now in December what they're going to need in February. They know what they're going to need next June. In those predicaments, they can save a fortune because they can plan it. They can buy it somewhere else. They can buy it online. They can have it mailed to them discreetly in discreet packaging. So, you know, the mailman won't know what you're getting, and they can save a fortune. And, again, if you're above a certain age and you'll be on a maintenance prescription, if you've not bought your prescription's mail order in the next 5 years, you will. That is that simple. They will, the world's changing. And I think, believe it or not, the CVS's, the Walgreens, the Rite Aids, they see the writing on the wall too. They more and more are changing their model. They mail a lot of prescriptions to people.
Do you think that's for the better?
that's better for whom? Better for the person who wants to just go run out and pick up a prescription.
Just for society in general.
I think it's part of the change. I do. I think, they're driving costs out of their system. They might not charge you less, but you look at the size of a pharmacy, your average CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid. Those are big stores that they rent, so they're paying a square footage for the, in New York, on Long Island, in Queens, in Manhattan, each one of those, the very expensive real estate, so they pay a large price for the rent. You have 20 to 40 employees in those stores, maybe more. You have to pay them. You have, in any one of those stores, several $1 million of merchandise on the shelves. Before you make $1, you have all those expenses you have to pay for. So you have to make sure people come in. Yeah, and then you have to keep the place clean. If they can get more and more people purchasing stuff on mail order, well, they can just do that in a factory, so to speak, and just mail them out. They're going to have 3 pharmacists, 4 pharmacists, so they've cut down on the employee expense. They've cut down on the rent expense. They don't have to have all the other items that they sell in there, the candies and the makeup and the this and the that and everything else they have in there. I mean, they're convenience stores. There's a reason why the medications are always in the back. 10 years ago, the reason why the CVSs wanted us in the stores and they used the program so well, if you went in there, the average savings with our card was 33%. So if you went into the store and your prescription was $100, and this time it cost you $67, you had $33 in your pocket that we used to refer to as monopoly money, because you didn't expect to have that $33 in your pocket. Now all of a sudden, you can spend $33 in the store, and 19 out of 20 people are going to spend some of that money. If you're with your little kid and they wanted the $2 kickball, you had an extra $33 in your pocket. You're going to get them the $2 little plastic kickball. Mom might, hey, let's get some cookies or let's do something. You had extra money in your hand, spend it in the store. And truth be told, CVS and Walgreens, Rite Aid, they made more money on the other items they sold than on the prescription. And there's a reason why the prescriptions, the medications are always in the back of the store. You got to walk through all that stuff. And they are retailers at the end of the day, and they understand one thing about business. The more people that walk through that threshold of the front door, the more money they will make. It's a simple numbers game. Those stores are very expensive, though, to operate.
Yeah.
And if they can do the medication business without all that other expense, they would just as soon do that too, because that drives expenses out of their system, and they make more profit, and they can hold the line on the cost of medication. So you asked me if it was better. I think at the end is probably a net good.
Okay.
In that you drive expenses out of the system. If they share the savings, that's another big thing. Are they going to share the savings? If I'm paying $50 to go visit them, or if I'm paying $50 to get it mailed to me, it's good for them. It might not be good for me. There is a convenience factor. And I think if more people get into the mail order for their prescriptions, especially stuff they know about, it doesn't work in every case. But for the maintenance prescriptions, the majority of the prescriptions out there for most people, if you're in your 60s or 70s and you're taking something every day, once a day, twice a day, presumably for a few years now or for the rest of your life, you know what you're going to need. And next month, you know what you're going to need. You become a prime candidate for mail order because you're going to allow a week or two for delivery, 3 weeks internationally allow. That's fine, especially if you have enough to cover you for the 3 weeks. You know what you're going to need. It's not major guesswork. And maybe you can buy a 6-month supply and save even more money. And you can up what you buy, just buy 2 months in advance. You can do that. And all you have to do is upload your prescription. And uploading a prescription, I was talking to a group of 60-year-old women, and they talked about, so all I have to do is upload the prescription. they didn't know what upload meant 15 years ago.
Right.
Today, they all know how to do it.
They at least understand the concept.
And they understand the concept. And they at least understand the concept. It wasn't foreign to them. And you would be surprised at how many people have actually bought their prescriptions online. And it's just going to be a new way of doing business. And if the savings are passed to the consumer, I would tell you at the end of the day, it's probably a net good. Yeah, I believe that. That's a good question.
So do you... It's interesting to see how business has changed, at least in media. I know it's not the same as what you do, but I've seen where all these streaming companies and all these entertainment companies have their own streaming service, and we basically reinvented cable. So it's interesting to see how, when this all goes fully online with the prescription business.
Well, more online. It won't be fully online. It'll be much more online. Much more common. And again, the much more common will be for the medications where people know in advance what they need, like people who are on maintenance prescriptions. Those are the people who should do it. Again, and I'm using you as an example because you're relative youth. For you to take a prescription, you shouldn't be on any at your age, and you're not. And if you were given something, if you're given a prescription, it's because, you got sick, something happened. And so we're going to fix that. And we're going to start your immune system. And you need something today or tomorrow, and go to the store, go to the pharmacy. Pharmacies will still exist. But I'm just reading the writing on the wall of the major pharmacies. Well, I've seen over the years, we've all seen it, the independent pharmacies, they used to be very common when I was a kid.
Now they're a rarity.
But now they're in two types of neighborhoods: very wealthy or
very poor,
not so great. And but CVS, Rite Aid, look at Rite Aid. Rite Aid declared bankruptcy, and they're reorganizing, and they shuttered. Look what they did to Manhattan. Yeah. They closed a number of stores just recently, like in the last year, and they probably have a few more coming. CVS is doing the same. And economically, it makes sense. If you have two stores within a mile of each other, and they can close one of them and not lose, if they lose 100% of the expenses that one store produces, but they're able to retain 50% of the sales that store produces because you're only going a mile in the other direction. How'd they do? That's a net win for them. And they're smart enough to know that. And that's how they do the math. Especially, I can count within 10 miles of this location. Probably 15 or 20 CVS's, 15 or 20 Walgreens, and, 5 or 10 Rite Aids. They can count them also, but they can count those stores. They can count the private. They can count the supermarkets that also sell medication, that also sell prescriptions. And that's another one. The idea for the supermarkets. Oh, while you're shopping, come place your prescription, go shopping. It'll be ready by the time you come out. Again, why are ShopRite and Stop & Shop, they're closing some of their pharmacies. And they're doing it for several reasons. The pharmacist, a doctor by trade, is usually the highest paid person in the place. So if I don't need that, I have to make a lot of money to pay for that. And you got somebody in there as a tech or two techs, cashier type of person. So I've got 3 employees. I've got the prescriptions. I've got the space that I'm paying for. I go to some places that used to have pharmacies. I now see a little florist section where you can buy flowers. And different businesses do it all the time. I know a restaurant in town, years ago, we had a deli in there, and it was a nice Italian deli where you could buy real fancy stuff. And he closed the deli section, and he turned it into a wine shop. And now it's a different store, but it's right next to his restaurant. His main business was always the fancy Italian restaurant. But now he has a wine shop, and he told me all I have to do is pay the rent. And every time, which is still included because the way they have the store, so I'm still paying the rent. Every time I sell a bottle of wine, I make money. And he said, but you know what I don't have? When I had the deli, I had many more employees. So he had a chef just for the deli, plus his restaurant chef. He had employees who worked in the deli section. He had to pay for the refrigeration, the freezers, all the food.
It's a separate restaurant.
It's a separate restaurant that he had to pay for. He made more money in the savings because he didn't have any of that now. So he was able to take $30,000 a month in expenses and take them off his books. And now every time he runs the place, it's a bottle of wine. Guess what doesn't happen when you have a wine shop? Refrigeration doesn't break. You're not throwing food out. You're not throwing wine out. The wine will sell.
There's no waste.
There's no waste. And he can marry it to the restaurant so that, did you really like that bottle of wine at dinner?
You can go right across
Go right next door. Here's a 15% coupon savings. We went there for dinner the other night. And right in the bill, right when you get the bill, there's a coupon for the wine shop right next door.
No kidding.
He's a great marketer and he's a great restaurant guy, but they're businesses that work together. So it complements. It's not like he has two separate businesses where one sells clothes and the other sells wine, where they have nothing to do with each other. If you really like that bottle of wine, you can go right here and get a discount on it. Because and they work together, and it's more profitable, even though the wine shop doesn't do near the sales that the delicatessen did. He makes more money because it's so much less expensive to run, and he sells enough wine where he pays for that section of the rent. He's able to pay for the employee, and it's a better deal for him. And less, sometimes they say less is more. Yeah. That's one of the ways to do it. But I'm using that same example with the pharmacy. If they can close the big store and they only have, instead of 2 or 3 big stores, 1 big store, and they didn't lose 100% of the sales with 100% of the expenses, they only lost part of the sales, but all of the expenses, because you're just going to go to the other CVS or the other Walgreens. There's a reason why they're doing that. And they're taking their least profitable stores and they're closing them.
It's smart business move.
It is smart business. And, but and it's one of those things you read on the front page, they talk about the store closing. What you don't read, then go check the stock price after that. Are they becoming better operators? Are they becoming leaner and meaner? There's usually something that they're not telling you. And, but it's changing the way people shop for their prescriptions. And again, like I said, I think Rite Aid understands it better than I do, probably, because they're more intimately involved in the production of the prescriptions. I'm just able to read the writing on the wall as I see it. And like I said, if you're on maintenance prescriptions and you have not bought your prescriptions online, get ready, you will. Next 5 years, you will. Probably, hopefully, you'll go to allsaverx.com and you'll do it sooner than later, because you will save money, especially if you've got that one that's not covered. You're the person we're talking about and the person we're talking to. And that's really where we think, we expect our largest amount of growth to come from. That component, the Medaford Global. And so, great question.
Where can everyone find you?
allsaverx.com. allsaverx.
Don't forget our YouTube, too.
And YouTube.
Instagram, Facebook.
You see my face. Yeah, we're all over Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever there's social media, we're there. But allsaverx.com, you'll see our website.